The basement whispers. You ever get that feeling that someone is watching you? That prickling sensation on the back of your neck when you're all alone? I used to think it was just paranoia, until it wasn't. I was 24 when I rented a small house just outside the city. The landlord seemed like a decent guy, quiet, kept to himself, but there was something about the basement that didn't sit right with me. The door was always locked, and when I asked about it, he said it was just for storage. Nothing to worry about. I brushed it off, thinking it was just one of those quirky landlord things. Until one night, I started hearing noises. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone when I heard it. A faint, muffled whisper coming from the floor below. At first I thought it was the wind, maybe some pipes creaking. But then it happened again, louder this time, almost like a conversation. I sat up, straining to hear, and then there it was, the unmistakable sound of footsteps, pacing, back and forth, slow, deliberate. My heart started pounding. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe the landlord was down there moving things around. But it was 2 a.m. Why would he be down there at this hour? The next morning I decided to confront the landlord. When I asked him about the noises, his expression changed. His jaw clenched, eyes darting away. It's just the plumbing, he said. Old pipes. They make weird noises. I wanted to believe him, but the way he said it felt wrong. He was hiding something. A few nights later, I was sitting in the living room when I heard it again. The whispers. But this time they weren't muffled. They were clearer, and they were coming from right beneath me. I crept to the basement door and pressed my ear against it. The whispers stopped. I was about to turn away when I heard a loud thud, like something heavy falling against the wall. I backed away, heart hammering, and called the landlord. He didn't pick up. I texted him. No response. I couldn't take it anymore. That night I grabbed a flashlight, a hammer, and the spare key the landlord gave me. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the basement door. The air was thick, stale, reeking of something rotten. The stairs creaked as I descended. The whispers had stopped, but the silence was worse. When I reached the bottom, the beam of my flashlight swept across the room. Boxes, old furniture, and then a mattress. A filthy, stained mattress pushed against the far wall. And next to it, chains, bolted to the wall, the kind you'd use to restrain someone. I was frozen, heart pounding when I heard it. Footsteps, behind me. I whipped around, flashlight shaking, but there was no one there. Just darkness. But then, from the shadows, I heard a voice, a low, raspy whisper. You shouldn't be down here. I moved out a few days later and never looked back. I never saw the landlord again, and I never found out who or what was living down there. But sometimes, late at night at my new place, I can still hear those whispers, and every time I wonder, was I the only one renting that house? Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends. The night I heard a whisper. This happened when I was 17, during the summer before my senior year of high school. My parents had decided to go on a week-long vacation, leaving me home alone for the first time. It felt like the perfect opportunity to have some friends over, maybe even throw a small party. But what ended up happening was far from the carefree week I had imagined. The first 2 nights were uneventful. I stayed up late playing video games, snacking, and watching movies. But on the third night, things started to get strange. Around 1 a.m., I was lying in bed scrolling through my phone, trying to unwind after a long day. The room was dimly lit, the only light coming from my phone screen. When I heard a soft tapping sound, it was coming from the kitchen, a place that should have been silent at this hour. At first, I thought it was just the house settling, or maybe the ice maker dropping cubes. These were common noises, nothing to be alarmed about, but the tapping was too rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. It had a deliberate pattern, almost like someone was trying to get my attention, like someone was deliberately knocking. The sound was persistent and it sent a chill down my spine. I sat up, straining my ears to listen. Then it stopped. The sudden silence was almost as unsettling as the tapping itself. Relieved, I brushed it off as my imagination and went back to my phone. Maybe I was just tired and my mind was playing tricks on me, but a few minutes later it started again. Tap, tap, tap. This time it was more insistent, demanding my attention. This time it was louder. The sound echoed through the quiet house, making it impossible to ignore. I got out of bed, creeping through the dark hallway toward the kitchen. Each step felt heavy, my heart pounding in my chest. The house was eerily silent except for the sound of my own breathing. The tapping continued unrelenting. When I reached the kitchen, it was empty, but the tapping persisted. It was as if the sound was coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. That's when I realized it was coming from the window. The realization sent a shiver down my spine. The kitchen window faces the backyard, and we have motion sensor lights that usually come on if someone or something is back there. It was a security measure that had always made me feel safe, but the lights were off. The backyard was pitch black, an abyss of shadows. I couldn't see anything but the faint reflection of myself in the glass. The tapping continued, relentless. I stood there, heart pounding, trying to convince myself that it was just a branch or maybe a raccoon. But deep down, I knew it was something more, something that didn't belong. But then, as I turned to leave, I heard it, a soft, unmistakable whisper that sent chills down my spine. Let me in. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Every hair on my body stood on end, a primal fear gripping me. I didn't dare turn around. I couldn't. My feet felt like they were glued to the floor. The voice was too close, as if it was right next to my ear, breathing down my neck. Slowly I backed away and rushed to my room, locking the door behind me, hoping the whisper wouldn't follow. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my hands shaking as I tried to explain what I had heard. The police arrived within minutes, but they found nothing. No signs of tampering with the doors or windows, no footprints in the backyard, nothing. They chalked it up to a prank or my imagination playing tricks on me. But that wasn't the end of it. The next night, around the same time, I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. The sound was unmistakable, echoing through the stillness of the night. This time, it wasn't coming from the kitchen. The noise seemed to be moving, searching for me. It was coming from my bedroom window. I didn't look. Fear paralyzed me, and I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I just pulled the covers over my head, squeezed my eyes shut, and prayed that whatever was out there would go away. My mind raced with terrifying thoughts, but the tapping grew louder. It was relentless, as if demanding my attention. And then, just like the night before, I heard that voice again, a cold, raspy whisper, "Let me in." The words sent chills down my spine, freezing me in place. The police never found anything. My parents returned the next day, and I never heard the voice again. But to this day, I can't shake the feeling that whatever was outside my window couldn't just come in. It needed me to let it in. It's still out there, waiting for its next opportunity to catch me alone. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends. The Lyft driver. Have you ever felt that sinking feeling in your gut when something just isn't right? That moment when a seemingly ordinary night turns into a nightmare you can't escape. I'm a 24-year-old woman, and I had just moved to a new city for a job. One Friday night, I decided to go out with some co-workers to a bar downtown. After a few hours, I was feeling tipsy but not drunk. and I decided to call a Lyft to get back to my apartment safely. The driver's name was Sam. He pulled up in a beat-up dark blue sedan, and when I got in, the car smelled faintly of cigarettes and something else I couldn't place. He was in his late 40s, with greasy, unkempt hair and a fixed, unsettling smile. The minute I got in, he asked me if I was out alone. I lied and said my boyfriend was still at the bar and would be home soon. He kept his eyes on the road but started asking me weird personal questions. You live alone? Got any family around here? I tried to give vague answers, staring at the map on my phone to make sure we were headed in the right direction. But after a few minutes, I realized we weren't. He had taken a wrong turn and was now heading down a dimly lit area with warehouses and empty lots. Hey, I think you missed a turn, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Sam, smiling wider. Oh, don't worry, I know a shortcut. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to get out. I texted my friend, pretending to be casual, and shared my location with her just in case. Then I noticed that he had locked the car doors. I tried to act calm. Actually, can you just let me out here? I'm feeling sick. Sam didn't respond. The streets were completely empty, and he kept driving, his hands gripping the wheel so tightly that his knuckles were white. My heart was pounding so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts. Then, without warning, he took a sharp turn down a dirt road that led into a wooded area. I knew I had to act fast. While he was momentarily distracted, glancing at something in the rearview mirror, I yanked the lock switch and threw open the door and rolled out onto the road, scraping my knees and elbows. But I scrambled to my feet and started running as fast as I could. I could hear the car door slam behind me, his heavy footsteps hitting the ground. I didn't dare look back. My phone was still in the car, and I had no idea where I was. But I kept running until I spotted a small gas station with lights flickering outside. I burst inside, breathless, and begged the cashier to call the police. By the time the cops arrived, the Lyft driver was gone. They said they would look into it, but I never heard anything back. Lyft couldn't trace him either because the ride had somehow been canceled midway. It was as if he had wiped his tracks clean, and Lyft didn't have a Sam working for them. For weeks, I was too terrified to get into another rideshare. I kept thinking about that look in his eyes and that smile, a smile that said he had done this before, and would probably do it again. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends. The Stalker, a true college horror story. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? Like, really watching you? What if that feeling wasn't just paranoia? What if someone was actually there lurking, following, and waiting for the right moment? This happened when I was in college, a time filled with new experiences and faces. There was this guy in one of my classes who always sat at the back, kept to himself, never said a word to anyone. He was the type of person you'd forget as soon as you saw him, unremarkable, almost invisible in the crowd. But that's what made it worse, the fact that he blended in so well. I never really noticed him until he started showing up everywhere I went, like a shadow I couldn't shake off. At first, it was just in the coffee shop on campus. I'd be standing in line, and out of the corner of my eye, I'd see him sitting at a table, staring at me over the rim of his coffee cup. I told myself it was nothing, just a coincidence. After all, it was a popular spot for students. Then I started seeing him at the library. Every single time I went to study, he'd be there, sitting a few tables away, pretending to read but always glancing up at me. Still, I brushed it off. Maybe he was just another student trying to study. But then he started appearing outside my apartment. I'd catch him standing across the street, his eyes fixed on my window. When I told my roommate, she said I was being paranoid, that I was just stressed from school. But the feeling didn't go away. It only got worse. One night I started getting texts from an unknown number. It was strange and unsettling. They were vague at first, almost like someone was testing the waters. Things like, "pleasant walk home." It felt like someone was watching me. Or, "you looked stressed today." The messages were getting under my skin. I tried to convince myself it was just a prank, maybe from a friend. But then the text became more specific, more personal. "I like that shirt you wore today. It was the exact shirt I had on." Or, "you should lock your window." My heart dropped. Who was this person? I ran to my window and checked the latch. It was secure. It was locked, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been in my apartment. The paranoia was real. I told my roommate again, but she just rolled her eyes and told me to chill out. Maybe she was right. Maybe not. Maybe I was just overreacting. But the fear lingered. Then one night I woke up to the sound of my doorknob rattling. It was subtle, barely a noise at all, but it was enough to wake me up. I froze, listening intently. There it was again, a soft, deliberate rattle, like someone trying to open the door without waking me up. I crept out of bed and walked to the door, my steps slow and cautious. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears, each beat echoing in the silence. I pressed my eye to the peephole, and that's when I saw him. The guy from my class, standing there in the dim hallway. He was just standing there, staring at my door, his eyes wide, unblinking. He didn't move an inch. He just stood there, as if he was waiting for something, or someone. I backed away from the door and grabbed my phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. By the time the cops arrived, he was gone, leaving only an eerie silence behind. But they found his phone outside my apartment. He must have accidentally dropped it while running away, and on it were dozens of pictures of me taken from inside my apartment. To this day, I still don't know how he got inside. The police said there was no sign of forced entry. My roommate swore she hadn't let anyone in. Did he have a pass key to our apartment? But every now and then, when I'm home alone and it's dark and quiet, I can still feel those eyes watching me, waiting for me to let my guard down again. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for spine-chilling horror content, and to watch more scary videos. Sleep tight if you can. Please share with family and friends.